Hello and welcome to the Game Boys podcast with me, Joe,
And me, Nathan.
where we talk about the world of gaming this week.
Gaming and entertainment and everything. We got a bit of a mismatch this week.
Yeah, so to start off with, I got Tony Hawk's on PS5 for £10.
For 10 whole pounds plus
10
the-
extra pounds.
the 50 quid you paid for it beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it came out on the next-gen consoles this week with the next-gen update that you had to pay £10 for in the UK for either Series X/S or PS5. It's
Yeah.
not worth it.
No?
No, so basically...
Does it? But what do you mean by it's not worth it? It's not worth it for the £10 or
It's
the
not worth
actual
it for the £10.
Not very good.
The update's brilliant. It works perfectly. Yeah. So there's the benefits are you get 4K 60 frames a second.
Yeah.
Or you can do 1080p 120 frames a second, which looks crazy.
Nice.
Like if you have a 120 frames a second capable monitor or TV, like it's very good for a game like that because obviously it's all about precise button inputs.
Precise button inputs, yeah.
Yeah. And the loading times is the other plus. Because instead of having... And the thing is, the Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 is a great game, and the loading times aren't that bad. They're under a minute easily, maybe 30 seconds on the base consoles.
Yeah.
So they've reduced that to kind of like 4 seconds, which is brilliant.
Yeah, on my Series X, whatever it is, the one before last gen, Tony Hawk's loads, bro. 15 to 20 seconds, it loads a level. Yeah. But I did see... the PS5 update move it to about 3-4 seconds a load, which is good.
Yeah,
that's a big jump. That's that's more than 50% faster. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That's pretty good.
And from the tabs as well, if you've got like a specific goal or trophy you want to earn, if you just click on that tab, it will take you straight to that point in the game, that level,
nice.
And you can just start from there. So it's kind of no messing about. So that's a good positive. But for £10 extra on top of the game that you've already bought, I don't feel that's worth it.
No, that's a bit bad. I personally feel that if you've paid for the game, whether it's last generation or this generation's consoles, the update should be free, or if there was a sort of do like what gigs do and ticket prices and say we need to charge you a handling fee, which is how much it costs us to get it up on like the PlayStation Network store or something, say for the download, and charge you a couple of quid.
Yeah, see that I wouldn't mind. A couple of quid would be fine. I just think £10 extra, and just for that, and it was my fault. I didn't check exactly what you got for your 10 quid. You know.
Yeah.
Not that I was expecting new levels or anything, but I just thought something different. And the only other thing I can say is. On the DualSense, you can feel if you're on a grind, and if you're going to the left, you can feel it more on the left, and then if you go more to the right, so it kind of gives you a balance in your sort of feedback in your hands, which is quite cool. So they've implemented, and also the resistance on the triggers as well with reverts and stuff like that.
Oh, cool! That's really cool.
So they have implemented some specific things, but I just think it's a weird thing to have to pay extra for a game you've already bought for that minimal amount of improvement, because you get other games, so God of War or Ratchet and Clank just recently got their 60 frames per second upgrade for free.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and that was free, so that's good.
So I don't know whether it's just Sony Studios or their own games they're doing that with.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's like I say, there's got to be some form of handling fee for it to be updated. But personally, I feel that it's probably because they're not a Sony company and it's a lot of hard work for them to do these extra add-on bits. So the studio's still working for it, and technically a little bit of a cash grab, you know? They've probably got.
I think Activision, they've probably gone, we can squeeze an extra tenner out for people who already have this game. But that's the thing, like, yes, you can play the old PS4 version, but when you've got the PS5, you want to have it. And I have to say the 4K resolution is really nice in 60 frames per second. I'm not saying it's not good. It's just I don't think it's worth it. Yeah. And that's the annoying thing.
What if I'll put a hypothetical at you. What would you prefer to not pay £10 and play it as is on the PS5, or if they turn around and said, well, the £10 is covering our developer fees, like obviously people have to implement all this stuff.
True,
So,
but you'd think people
basically they done like a Kickstarter, say a game done a Kickstarter and said, we want to do a PlayStation 5 version of this game. We can do it, but it's going to cost us 60 grand, so we need to raise that.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to drop a tenner on it then for an up? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, if you knew it was going directly to develop the game, not as a cash grab.
Yeah, but as you say, I think it wouldn't then cost £10 to do that.
No,
it would be a couple of quid per person, sort of thing, which I think is a bit more reasonable, especially as you've already bought the game. And
I think that's the big hiccup here is the fact that you've already spent $50 or $60 in America and between 45 and £50 in the UK on the game. And they're trying to go, you want to play it on your new console? Like, give us a bit more money and you can.
Yeah. And it just seems like a reputable, games maker would actually support their, because the more people playing it, the better for them. So if people are going to start playing it more because you've made that upgrade free, playing more online, getting it more out there, more people go, oh, I didn't know they'd done a remake, I'm going to get it,
Yeah.
I just think it's quite an odd choice to have to charge for something like that.
It's a bit
but I'm
strange.
not bitter.
I'm not annoyed much.
No. I mean, that's the thing. I've played through it again, and it is an amazing game. One of the best remakes, I mean, we've had a good few remakes in the past few years. Like, obviously, God of War was a kind of reboot remake, but kind of with old IPs. And then Resident Evil 2, obviously, was an amazing remake of the original game. And now we've got Tony Hawk's. And they seem to be doing well.
For me, it is a good remake. It's probably one of the best remakes out there. But the only thing, it was like when they were releasing World of Warcraft Classic, the developers were saying, you don't want Classic World of Warcraft. It's terrible. Like, the game was so slow. So it when World of Warcraft first came out, it was a cash grab. It's basically, it took you at least 6-7 months to get to level 60 because they wanted you to pay 6-7 months worth of subscription fees. So it was deliberately done like that. They were saying, you don't, but the fans are going, we want it. And I've always said that I'd love a remake of Tony Hawk's. But then when I actually got it and I put it in my Xbox, and then 4 or 5 hours later, I was nearly done 100% on it. I was like, I've played this game way too much. And it was a bit of a waste because it's like, in my childhood, I played that game so much that everything was like, I knew like the back of my hand. The only thing that could have been better for someone that's played it so long is if they included Tony Hawk's 3 with it.
Yeah.
And not just the
and
two games.
I think 3 is my favourite of all time.
3 and 4 are amazing. But if they could have done the whole collection, but then it would have probably took them another 2 years to come out, and then it would just be next gen. And
well, people are hoping for either DLC of 3 levels, or the next one they make is like Tony Hawk's 3 and 4.
Yeah, that would be good.
But then, in a way, I'd kind of like them to use this new engine because they've nailed it, and it feels like old Tony Hawk's. I'd love to see a new, fully, brand new stages and all that.
Yeah.
And bring back combo lines. I love collecting the combos. I don't know why they removed. They should have added that because,
But yeah, for me, it just felt a little bit like sort of like when you go and watch a movie at the cinema and then a week later you're with your mates and they're like, should we go and watch that movie? And you've already seen it, but you're like, yeah, I'll pay again to watch it.
Yeah.
And I've paid and it was like, it just didn't quite.
And now I've paid again to watch it in a higher resolution.
And then, now the cinemas come up to you and say, do you want to see this with a pair of glasses on?
Yeah.
£10 for these shiny new glasses.
But,
which is quite funny.
I don't know.
But
maybe
I hope this isn't a start of other companies doing this whole cash grab.
That's my one worry with it.
Yeah, what happens if like they bring out a PlayStation 5 Pro?
Which they will.
Then they start going, oh, this can do 8K at 120 frames per second. And then they're going to turn around and say, oh, you need to buy another update because we've got to convert it to 8K now. It's like...
Well, what I love is one of the biggest complaints at the moment is people going, "Oh, it says it can do 120 frames a second, but it's like, does your TV do that? Because not a lot of TVs can
Yeah,
do
it's
that,
true.
you know."
People normally buy consoles to be played on their home TV, which not many TVs. Well, not many TVs within a decent price bracket do 120 hertz. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I somehow magically got about 3 years ago. I got one for like 400 quid that has
Yeah,
HDMI 2. Oh no, it has. It doesn't have 2.1, but it has 4K and it has a variable refresh rate.
yeah.
And I have no idea how I got that for the price I did, because like a new one
Yeah,
at
it's
that
like
price is more
my
now.
TV's 120 hertz, but it's an expensive TV, and it's like I only got that because my old TV broke, and I got insurance, and they done like for like, and it was a new. I had the older Samsung, and they just updated it to the new one. But you know what I mean? My TV's just under £1,000. I'm not doing like a flexi thing here. I'm just saying, but that's how much you've got to spend to get 120 hertz. So you're not just paying that
Usually,
£10. Yeah, you're not just paying that £10 for Tony Hawk's. You're also, I suppose, but then again, we just hit the nail on the head there, Joe. Is it because they know people that are playing it at 60, 120 hertz are spending £1,000 on a TV to play it, or 500-600 quid on a monitor, so they think £10 nothing to them.
Yeah, well, I suppose looking at the consoles, they're 450 each, aren't they?
Yeah.
So if you've got that and you've got the TV to play it, then an extra 10 quid to play it in 4K. Yeah, I guess they're thinking that's not.
I think they're thinking that's what they're thinking. If you can afford 500 for a PlayStation 4 and the game, and £1,000 for a TV, or 500 to £1,000 for a TV, then £10 nothing to you. Where it's got nothing to do with that. It's to do, even if you're rich or you're poor or whatever.
Yeah,
it's to do with just the moral conflict of you've already paid for the game.
Yeah,
you know, and I always think like paying for game and stuff. I always think that should be the way digital should go in the future. You know, because I think that once you've paid for a game, you should get it. It should just be open up on everything for you. You know?
Exactly. Like I think
if they want digital to be the new way of paying for stuff, then when you go on Steam and buy a game for 50 quid, it should be unlocked on your Xbox and your PlayStation and everything.
Yeah, get a pass for that game rather than like you buy it for a specific console. You buy you
buy a license. You're buying a license.
Yeah. Like as if you got like Photoshop from Adobe, you can use that on a Mac or a PC, or you can use the mobile app because you've paid for that license. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, in some ways, what's EA Play is multiple, isn't it? So if you buy EA Play, you can sign in to that account on multiple things.
So doing it that way, you can play on. And same as the Game Pass Premium, you can do on PC and on Xbox. But
I don't think all games are on PC, are they? But
not all
most of them. Yeah, they're getting better.
You still get the option to be able to go onto PC and use your Game Pass if you subscribe to it. But how cool would it be if you could log onto your PS5 and play Game Pass?
Yeah,
you know, or log into. I know
that's what I think the future will bring.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, same with that digital sort of ownership of it. That's the issue we have now with, with the PlayStation 3 and Vita and PSP, all they're closing the stores for those.
Yeah.
And it's becoming this issue of, well, if those close, how do we then access those games if, say your console dies and your hard drive dies?
Yeah.
There is no way of re-downloading those games. Even if you get a new console, because those stores are shut. So you've now lost access to those games through no fault of your own, even though you've paid harder money for them.
Yeah.
And it just seems a bit shitty of PlayStation to like go, oh, well, we're closing them. But there's no option of backing them up or, offering backwards compatibility on the new consoles or anything like that. It just seems really odd to kind of go, well, if you lose those games, then they're lost. And also just in terms of like historical, artifacts, they are things that people will want to play in the future.
Yeah, it's hard because obviously when you're doing digital, it's all server based. So
especially stuff like PS Vita, there's so many digital games only,
Yeah, it's once like you say, once the server's gone down, how are people going to access
Mm.
their games? It's like, yeah, fair enough, you got them downloaded on an SD card now, but without going an illegal way and doing like downloading them illegally and putting them back on your machine, even though you've paid for them.
Yeah,
Technically, I suppose that it wouldn't be illegal because it would be a backup. Do you know what I mean? If you own
yeah.
the rights to
Well, they
it,
say that with ROMs, isn't it? That if you have the
yeah,
actual physical
yeah, you can
copy.
emulate it as long as you have the physical game. It's like,
But I mean, that's the thing. You get stuff like PCSX2 and everything, which honestly plays PS2 games so well now.
yeah,
And Dolphin for sort of GameCube and Wii and all that. And it's just, I can see in the future we will get that sort of. It will take a while, but that will be a PlayStation 3 thing. And so I'm guessing, all the ROMs of those or the ISOs will appear at some point in the future.
It'll get to a point where consoles will be outdone by PCs just due to sheer processing power and the technology sort of uniforming. So when a PS5 thingy, there'll be a homebrew market, or when like say PS6 or PS7 comes out, there'll be a homebrew market that will have an emulator ready to run on a PC.
Yeah,
for them games.
See that.
It'll be do you know what I mean? So it'll be a point where consoles will have to sort of up their security in a weird way. But yeah, with the digital stuff, it reminds me of like back in the day when digital very first come on the market, and I think it was Bruce Willis who brought it up. I know it's such a random thing to say, but when Bruce Willis was doing his will, because he bought something like £20,000 worth of iTunes music.
Okay.
And he was doing his will, and he basically said he would leave all his music to his daughter or something in his will. And they were like, "Oh, you can't do that because you don't actually own the music. All you're doing is you're paying iTunes for a license, and that license is for you. Once you die, it's gone. So it's not like you don't actually physically own the music when you bought it off iTunes." This was back in the day. This was when iPods were very first getting big, the iPod Touch and stuff. And they were just saying to him, like, everything you buy on the iTunes store wasn't technically, if you read the small print, you didn't actually own it. You just owned a license for it. And that license expired when your life expired, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? To be horrible, but that you can't pass it on. So you're still paying. He was still paying £10 for technically a CD, where he could have bought a CD and then put it on his iPod and still had the physical copy. But I don't know. I haven't read small print on games and stuff.
No.
It just seems the whole digital market. No one reads them bloody.
No, I mean, who has time to read
700 pages of legal documentation? Yeah,
it's like with South Park and the Human Sentai Pad. It's that whole like you sign your soul away, but it's that thing you expect to own something you buy, and that's what I feel with digital. You don't own it, as you say. You just get a license for it to be able to play it at that point. Yeah, but then it will be lost and. It's better with. I mean, Xbox are doing a hell of a better job with it at the moment in terms of backwards compatibility with the older games. And if you bought an original Xbox title on Xbox Live, say, you can now play it on your Xbox Series X, and they've kept that backwards compatibility going, which is amazing by them.
Yeah, when I got my Series X, I just logged into my account, and straight away it popped up. It said, "You have 137 games in your library," and I was like, "What?" I was like, I didn't even know. And it told me straight, and I looked. I was like, "It's all my old arcade games that were just straight ported over to the machine." I was like, "Oh, cool!" And I started playing Castlevania Symphony in the Night, but because I was like, "I forgot I had this."
Yeah.
That was the first game I played on my Series X when I got it. Was that? There's all these new games out, and I'm playing fucking PS1 Symphony in the Night.
To be fair, it's probably better than a lot of the newer games.
Oh, it's brilliant! I love that game. I love that game.
It just shows like you don't need
the back of my hand.
You don't need superior graphics, and it's all about gameplay at the end of the day.
Yeah, it really is.
That's why I always turn back to No Mercy or something. It's just still fun, even though it's N64.
I think graphics is more of a kids thing. Do you know what I mean? I know you have your enthusiasts that like graphics, but they tend to be people that actually read a lot, or like work in the industry, or just to have a passion about technology and stuff. So they like to see how we're coming along. But I think older gamers look at Minecraft. Minecraft's the biggest proof there.
Yeah.
Kind of counteracts my thing because a lot of kids play it, but a lot of adults play it too.
And Roblox as well.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger being like, look at the graphics and stuff. And I think it's the shiny syndrome. Do you know what I mean? If it looks shiny and new and nice, you're attracting kids. But I find adults can see past that.
Yeah,
a little bit.
That's the thing I've found sort of in later life. I'm going back to older games that I didn't get around to playing, even though if they were 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
Like, so I played through the DMC game, which was reboot of Devil May Cry. Amazing game.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game.
It just didn't catch because people got, it's not the original, it's a reboot, and I don't like it. Like the character is cocky and stuff, and it's not exactly the most likable character. But you don't play that game for the story. You play it to hack and slash, and the controls they had in it were like, they kind of got the best of like Devil May Cry 4 because you had the kind of Devil Bringer-esque pulling in moves and stuff like that. So, and you could chain these amazing combos.
Yeah.
And it just made you feel, like a god. It's like it really was fun.
It had solid. That's what it needs. Solid controls. It had solid controls, and like I say, if you don't like the story, you can watch a movie. Yeah, But if you're really looking for story, watch a movie.
The graphics, like going back now, because that was a PS3 game, are like awful. But I've had more fun playing that recently than some of the more, the modern. The current generation games even. Definitely.
Like, I really enjoyed that. Another one for me lately that I've played was the HD remaster of GoldenEye.
Yes.
Which was amazingly
good.
Amazingly good.
And also the fact they implemented modern controls though with the dual analog.
It played so much nicer, and it thingy, but just the graphics were still dated.
Yeah,
there's only so much you can do with it. But I thought it was a really good game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was solid. GoldenEye's one of the greatest, anyway.
And that wasn't even finished. That Xbox
I know.
Live one. There's still like textures missing and stuff. But no, I had such fun replaying that. I did learn though.
What's that?
There was an option on the original N64 if you got two controllers, plugged into ports 1 and 2. There was an option in the settings of GoldenEye where you could use it as dual analog sticks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you have to hold two controllers and do it that way.
What is it with Nintendo and two controllers?
Yeah.
But so for a big controller with a screen on it, or two controllers.
Or two screens. Yeah, they're just like doubling it up, don't they? Like with the Game & Watch, that was originally two screens. But but someone online like hacked up two N64 controllers and kind of made a dual analog N64 controller, and then with the two wires coming out, and then played GoldenEye original on N64 with dual analog controls, and said it was like really good. But yeah, just quite funny that was supported. Like the amount of probably people going back to the game going, "Oh, I wish they supported that." It's like it did. It did when it was released.
It is strange to have that, but don't you find as well, like Nintendo do innovate a lot and stuff.
Yeah.
But their control pads, like I don't know what it is. I suppose Nintendo and Sony are both Japanese companies, so they sort of they sort of pigeonhole themselves with their control pad designs a little bit. Like the N64 design was sort of, you had the analog stick to move around and the Z button for so it's like a gun, and then they had the yellow buttons which were meant for sort of opening maps and inventory and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love the 6 buttons, to be fair. I think we're at a stage now where you could easily have 6 buttons, 6 face buttons again.
Yeah, definitely. So instead of having just the X, Y triangle. But like even on the PlayStation, like each of the shapes were there for an action. You know, the square was actually not originally called a square button; it was a map button. That's why it's a square. It's meant to be the map. So that would be opening your map. And then try. I can't remember all of them, but
I think
they
triangle
actually
was
had
to like interact or something, to be like point towards or something.
Yeah,
and then
because
circle was originally select in Japan, because circle to be like press the button.
Yeah,
and then X was quit out because cancel.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. They actually had
meaning, but that's because their market was big in like RPGs and stuff like that, where you need maps and inventories and this, that, the other, and the same with the thingy. But doing that sort of pigeonholes you, do you know what I mean? Just sort of like other developers coming in and going, no, like they're not them buttons.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not called a map button. Like that you're basically saying we have to use that button now for a map.
Yeah,
and that one for our inventory, and that one to accept, and that one to cancel. It's like it's a bit hard. It's a bit thingy. So.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the other day.
Mistakes were made along the way.
I was trying to figure out the other day when the first controller with back buttons came along. I couldn't seem to find a sort of definitive answer. I think it was modded, like paddle buttons on the back, like sort of pro controllers.
Yeah, so to be honest, there's no controller really has. There's never been a controller that has them. You know? There's never actually been a controller that has been designed to have them. Do you know what I mean? I thought PlayStation 5 or Xbox would have added them because they're normally just extensions of existing buttons. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there has been a patent that basically it looks exactly like the back button attachment for PS4, but just for PS5.
Yeah.
So they definitely have made it. There is one in existence somewhere.
But that's what I mean.
In a top
it would be
secret
cool.
Sony.
As like a developer and developing for a console, you would want them to be designated buttons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the moment, a lot of the controllers are not. It's mapped. You map them to a pre-existing button on the controller.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're getting an extra 2 buttons. You're actually just able to put 2 buttons on the paddle, sort of thing.
Yeah. But that's what I want. I want some mega controller. You got 6 face buttons,
6 face buttons,
4
2
shoulder
paddles,
buttons, 4 paddles,
12 shoulder buttons.
Yeah.
Do you know what would be cool with the bumpers though?
Yeah.
Do you know you have your bumpers because I was playing my brother bought Odroid Go Super.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're like Nintendo Switchy looking emulation.
Yeah, Nintendo Switchy handheld, and I was playing with it the other day. It's actually really comfy to hold, but on the shoulder buttons, where you have your left and right shoulder buttons, you have a big one, and then on the tips where your fingers rest, sort of thing, that would be your R2. So it's like that button's longer, but split into R1, R2, R1, R2, but it would be cool on like a next gen console to have your bump. So you have 4 bumpers and 2 triggers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got an extra sort of, and it wouldn't be too hard to thingy because you have 2 big bumpers and then just 2 small bumpers.
What would you call them though? Because you've already got R3 and R3 and L3 on the analog sticks when you click them in. So would they be R4 and L4?
I think
you'd have to be RB2 and LB2.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not the tops up there. They can sort that out. I'm just telling them what to do.
Yeah.
I'm the idea man, all right? They come to me for the ideas.
We should design our Game Boy specific controller that just look like Homer's car when he invents a car. Just a mess.
It'd be cool, like the old sort of Mega Drive style front face buttons, the 6, and then the 2 bumpers.
Yeah.
Because like Xbox originally had 6 face buttons.
Yeah, with black and white.
The original Xbox, they had the black and white buttons.
They only had the triggers. They didn't have L and R. They didn't have the bumpers, did they?
Yeah, they didn't have the bumpers. Yeah. And then they realised that bumpers are a bit more comfy.
Which was basically it was designed off the. It was basically a rip-off of the Dreamcast controller.
Yeah.
So the Dreamcast is thankful for our modern day controllers, in my mind.
But But then there's
Thank you,
something else that I realised as well. Like back in the day, start was to pause the game, or actually back in the day, like the NES.
What's the start button?
Start was to start the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you go back to the NES style stuff, you can't press A or B to start the game. Start was to start the game, and select was normally to pop up a menu or a map or something. So it's like, but now the start and select buttons are kind of, well, they don't really get used much. You know what I mean?
Menu and share buttons now.
Yeah, the menu and share buttons. So it's like, it's a bit tricky. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
how we've mapped them buttons to elsewhere on the pad.
There's been so many games.
It's not really a game. Sorry.
I was just going to say, there's been so many games I've not been able to play though because it says press any button, and I don't know where the any button is.
That's where you got to go. All 4 triggers, all 4 bumpers and triggers, and then shake the controller around. Yeah. Do a 360 and a little jig.
Yeah.
That's the any button.
Well, I suppose we've got like touch pads and stuff on the PS4 and 5, but they're not implemented at all.
Oh, they're really not. Yeah, they're really not implemented. Could be.
That's why I'd love to see some PS Vita games ported to the PS4 5, because obviously PS Vita had that touch panel on the front and back. It's like, well, get some games, give me Uncharted from the PS Vita.
But that's what they've done with the PS4. They released the touchpad, and then the first couple of first-party games did have a little bit of sort of touchpad, and then I think they realised no one really used it. No one really liked it.
Yeah, was it like Infamous? You could like swipe.
Yeah.
For things or something. Yeah.
Swipe and stuff. Killzone, you could swipe it up to see your hologram mission markers or whatever. Horizon Zero Dawn done the same thing. You swipe up and thingy.
Yeah. Oh, but they actually used it on PS5 with the new Miles Morales Spider-Man. If you swipe to the left, it opens up like missions thing, and if you swipe to the right, it does something different. And so they actually used it a bit. They kind of implemented it a bit, and if you press it in, it's just like opens the map.
I always thought, like in Horizon Zero Dawn, you're always going back into your inventory to make arrows, or you press R1 and then hold triangle to make your arrows or something. I can't remember, in a while since I played it. But I always thought it'd be so cool if you could just swipe to the left. You know what I mean? Just swipe it and it could put 10 more arrows in your bag or something.
Yeah, or even like do like a spiral pattern on the touchpad to be like you're winding it round, like creating the barb on the end of the stick sort of thing to kind of give that impression of
tying it on there or something.
Yeah.
But it's not been utilised to its best abilities.
Yeah, or like or if you have to like craft a Molotov, like shake the thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they were thinking we put a touch screen on it, we can port some like Angry Birds and stuff over to the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Properly. Maybe they're thinking we put a touch screen, we can get some app developers to upload to the store.
I mean, I think you can get Angry Birds on PS4, can't you? Maybe they did do that.
You use your analog stick, but maybe they
can
have
you not use the touchpad? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But
I've not played it. It's not my sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it was like we stuck a touchpad on it. It's a bit like a mobile phone. Maybe we can get some mobile phone games put onto the PlayStation to be played with the touchpad or something. Maybe that was.
And then they realised there's no good mobile games.
Yeah, that's a market that.
Yeah.
I don't know any games.
No. Yeah, I always try to find one for commuting and stuff, but. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I played a bit of Brawl Stars, but then after about a week, I just turned it off, and then it's like, I'll play Zelda.
Yeah, well, that's one implementation that I liked with the Switch controllers, the Joy-Cons, is the aiming. Yeah,
the aiming's cool.
Which should be, I'd love to see that implemented in other controllers. The sort of, what would you call it, like?
It's just what's it? 6-axis style.
Yeah.
Aiming system. Nintendo nailed it. Nintendo have got the technology there. Like the
They're
PlayStation.
Just really uncomfortable. That's the only issue with the Joy-Con.
Yeah, the PlayStation has had 6-axis controls since PlayStation 3, but for some reason, just doesn't seem to be as responsive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean
they had that sorry, they had that game on PS3 where it's where you're flying the dragon and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Can't remember what
Panzer
it was
Dragoon
called.
or something.
No,
Like
Rain, I think it was called.
oh right, yeah,
It
yeah.
was like
Dragoon
like
Rain,
you
yeah.
fly a dragon around, and it was all 6-axis controlled and triggers and stuff. But it just handled like junk. Do you know what I mean? It just
Well, it's
it
just
felt
weird
wrong.
because in Astro's Playroom, which we get free with the PS5,
Yeah,
like you have the whole controller demo and it shows you how the triggers work and all that. And when you move the controller around, it really is quite highly responsive to you moving the controller, so it knows where it is.
yeah.
So
Maybe
it's
they
just
have.
weird that they haven't. It seems like such a good thing for a shooter, I'd say. And
Yeah.
I've seen like Linus Tech Tips a couple of years ago did this thing on a controller that had implemented that for PC.
Yeah,
And he was just like, "This is the best controller I've ever used on PC because it moves and you can do much closer sort of very tiny movements with your hands, like in Breath of the Wild, and hit the target, and not rely on your analog sticks."
yeah. It would be cool to like when you zoom in on Call of Duty that you can use your control pad to sort of counteract
Yeah,
the little bit of wobble and stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you can sort of really get your aim in spot on.
There is another guy who's he's built from scratch. It's basically a mouse/control pad.
Yeah,
So he's taken off the right analog stick and replaced it with a tiny little touchpad and then a kind of like magnetic thing you stick on your thumb. And then like how good aiming is on that's the one thing with mobile games. Aiming is amazing with touchscreen.
yeah,
Because it's literally your thumb movement and it works really well. So he's kind of made that thumb movement the aiming, and he's just playing like Fortnite and stuff like that, and he's just like killing everyone because it's just so precise.
yeah. It's crazy.
So yeah, I think take a risk with new control pads because it's been a while since someone's done something a bit different.
Yeah,
Which is why I like the PS4. They've got the triggers, but they're breaking already, so I don't know.
But it's like it's that whole sort of world we run into now. It's like we live in we've kind of gone full circle with the whole digital games and stuff like that. And what about if we want to go back and play them and stuff? That when a new console comes out, everyone is always raving and shouting about backwards compatibility.
Yeah,
Like, we want backwards compatibility. But if you start implementing more and more new features on control pads and stuff like that, it makes it harder and harder for like backwards compatibility to work. Like look at the Skyward Sword remake that's coming out next month. They've had to reevaluate all of the controls because it was on the Wii, which was fully motion controlled. You know what I mean? So the more technology you add, the less reversing we can have. So it's like if people stop moaning about backwards compatibility, maybe we would have 12 buttons and all this different stuff on a control pad.
but that's the thing. Like, people asking for backwards compatibility. But I mean, it's kind of shown with this generation because there are no new games. They launched these brand new consoles, and there's like, I think you can count on one hand the amount of actual, next gen games that have been released so far. It's a bit crazy. Like that aren't just upscale ports.
Yeah,
That
I think that it's next month, end of this month, and the next next month and the month after. The first proper next gen games will be coming out on PlayStation with that.
I think what's it? Ratchet and
called.
Clank's coming out.
Ratchet and Clank comes out in June, but there's that game that looks like Death Stranding.
Oh yeah, I know the
coming
one.
out next month or this
Returnal,
month.
is it?
Yeah, Returnal or something, and that's basically the start of next gen.
Yeah.
For me personally, because like Demon Souls, it looked beautiful. It was built up for the PS5, but it's still a PS3 game.
Don't give me the nightmares again. If anyone's looking for Demon Souls, I have it. You can buy it off me.
Yeah,
because I never want to have that touch my console ever again.
You can buy it off him for £10.
Yeah, get my tenner back.
Pay him back. Get your tenner back for Tony Hawk.
For a game I can play. No, I mean it's because you've said before, like they shouldn't they should have just left the console releases till this year. And I do now fully agree. I think,
Yeah.
you know, there
Well,
was no need
Unreal
for them to be
Engine-
released. They could have spared all this time of people like scalping them, and could just spent a year getting them all ready, getting enough so that people won't be like demanding them, and could have released them this year. And no one would have blamed them if they went, oh, do you know what? We're setting it back 6 months because of the pandemic. They'll
Yeah.
release in summer next year, and people have been fine with that.
Definitely, man. It's like I was saying, Unreal Engine 5 doesn't come out of beta until end of this year. So that's like a true next gen game engine. So
Yeah.
fair enough, there will be some companies using it now, but they're not using a very stable build of it. So we ain't going to start seeing proper next gen games until early next year, late next year for proper next gen. Until the bugs are ironed out of Unreal Engine 5, because that's where majority of AAA games are made on, or their own independent engines need to be updated. Game like Assassin's Creed and stuff, they need to take a year off and update their game engines to work with PS5 better, or just use graphics better.
It's just a weird thing, but like the whole thing of getting the new games through. That's one thing I have worry with the Xbox Series consoles, is that I just have a feeling that the Series S will hold back the Series X, because if they're having to accommodate for a much less powerful machine, that can't handle certain things, then it just seems a bit odd to be like, oh, let's do a downgrade. We'll have to keep it so that we can make a downgraded port of this game for the Series S without 4K, without ray tracing, and I guess it might not be that difficult, but it just feels like that's going to hold the Xbox back a bit in terms
it's
of
a strange
new
one.
technology in games.
It's easier to downgrade something than it is to upgrade it. So
I suppose so, yeah.
Because
I guess PC's shown that you can, run it in potato mode for some games, and then a high-end PC can make it look amazing.
But you're not wrong there. You're kind of when you start trying to accommodate everyone, you start to lose sight of the final product. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're thinking, I'm going to make this like amazing game and stuff, but then when you do have that niggle in the back of your head, like, oh, it's got to work on that Xbox as well. It's like, ooh.
Well, I'm just worried it's what would happen with CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, yeah.
Is his prime example where they said, oh, yeah, we're releasing it on all consoles and PC. And then the base consoles that it was announced on
it
couldn't
didn't
run it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you can't do that. And that's what I have a feeling they might happen with the Series S and X, is that there's going to come a point where they release a game and they're like, yeah, on Series X it's brilliant, on Series S don't buy it.
Yeah. It probably will be like that. It's one of them. It's like, it is hard. It's kind of, I suppose the way to look at it is, like I say, it takes. Have you noticed, like PS5, it's taken a while for them to get out these updates to 60 frames.
Yeah,
because once you get
surprisingly long.
Yeah, once you get your game running at 120 hertz, if you can get your game running at 120 frames and 120 frames per second, high resolutions, 4K, then you know for a fact it's going to scale down. But when you have your game at 1080p, 30 frames a second, you're not 100% sure if it's able to scale up to what you want it to. You don't know if the process is, and it's kind of like, I think the Switch shows us that, because look at like Doom and stuff. Doom got ported within like 3-4 months onto the Switch, and the new one come out day one on the Switch, where they can just tweak a few graphics and turn them down and textures to 512, you know what I mean, megabytes and 512 pixels instead of 4K textures and stuff like that. It's a lot easier.
People jumped on the port of Doom, and I'm like, it's on a mobile phone, basically. Like, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
And
But then, like I say, like with Doom and stuff, when I played Doom 2016 on my PC with good graphics card to on the Switch, it's night and day. So you are kind of losing a bit of downgrading it to these consoles. You're losing a bit of your artistic vision of what you want for the game. You know, so it's a bit like you want to try and get it in as many hands because the idea of them making games is that they want to make more games and they want to make more Doom, so they need to make money. So they have to put it out as many consoles. But there must be some artists somewhere that play it on the Switch and are like, I created that and it looks terrible on the Switch.
Yeah, or you
it
can't
looks
even,
amazing.
or you can't even see it. It's such a low res texture or something, you know. Like,
especially in handheld mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when they are trying to accommodate. They're trying to make as much money as they can. The gaming's like the biggest industry at the moment. But that's the one thing that I've been doing lately is like I'm working on making a game, but I was trying to like mold it into something that's thinking, I want it on the Switch. That was my key thing. I want to put it on the Switch. So I've been trying to make it. And then now I've just gone, no, I'm releasing it on PC first. That's it.
Yeah.
And then that's my artistic vision is if it runs well on my PC's not, it's a decent spec, but it's not amazing. If I can get it to run on my PC and get it to run on Tom's PC, then it will run on most PCs. Yeah. And it will have that artistic vision that I want it to have. And then if I have to downgrade it for Switch, if I ever get to that far, then I'll think about that. So, but that's what I think developers need to work on now. I think Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red should have just gone, no, like we're releasing it on PC. It's finished on PC. It's not finished on consoles, guys. Yeah. It's finished on PC. Here it is, December 11th. It's going to be out on consoles when it's out.
I mean, there's been internal, like, you know, issues with that, haven't there? They've had to do investigations of, like, you know, who knew what and stuff was hidden from other people. And they apparently thought that the PS4 and Xbox One versions were done. It's like, really?
It's really bad.
Yeah. But just really, hopefully really it's we don't get that again, because I think there's been enough times where games have now been released just completely broken. And it's not good. It's not good enough.
I honestly think that Xbox led the way last gen with backwards compatibility. When PlayStation didn't want to do backwards compatibility, they were like, "No, we're not. PlayStation 4 is not going to have backwards compatibility and stuff." Yeah, and they sort of buckled under Xbox's wing there. But I honestly think like next gen, like PlayStation 6, I think Sony will come out and hit it out the park with a sort of console where they're going to do their own thing and be like, okay, this is the controller, this is the console. Yeah. No backwards compatibility. There's like, you want to play PlayStation 6 games, this is a PlayStation 6. And that's what I think a company needs to do. Because we're slowly getting closer and closer to a console being a PC now. Yeah. And you just logging onto your Steam account on your, you know what I mean? It's just like, but we just need a company just to bounce back and go, actually, no, this is a new control pad, new design, no motion controls, there's no gimmicks here, we just got more buttons and games are going to be developed to be more in depth and this, that, the other. And
I think that's one issue though, if this console generation launch, if they didn't have backwards compatibility, what would you be able to play on them? You know,
they would be screwed. Yeah, they would absolutely. But maybe hopefully
they learn. I don't think people would have still bought them, going, "Oh, I have Demon Souls," and now I wait.
Day one Demon Souls. That's it. They would be the Demon Soul machine.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, it probably would have still sold pretty well.
Yeah, and probably for some people it is. Probably they're still playing it now. You know, trying to do it with their feet or something like on Twitch right now.
Speed running it, no hit.
Yeah. Jeez, I don't know how people do that. They just, you know, it's like they're the Flash or something. When I see people playing it, I'm like, how do you do that?
That is a superpower. That is actually a superpower.
Yeah,
crazy.
So that was the Game Boys podcast. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like down below and please subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and watching the video. Let us know in the comments down below if you would like to see next-gen consoles, I mean PlayStation 6 and Xbox 4, 5, whatever it is. Let us know down in the comments if you would like to see it be a whole new thing and new controllers, new everything, and change up the game.
And also, if you have any questions for us, leave them in the comments and we'll try and answer them on the next podcast.
See you then.
Bye.